Gale nearly got a flick on that.
Can he put it into the path of Plateau? He's thinking about going himself. Plateau, Plateau. Oh, that's a wonderful goal!
Now on to Benjamin. Just holding off for Benjamin, twisting, turning, that's
It's Liam Henderson to deliver. David Gray has scored.
Hello and welcome back to Down the Slope. You've got three of us today. Ewan he got a late shift, unfortunately, the Chocolate Factory, so couldn't join us. Craig and Liam are joined by Harry Potter on LSD. That was my favourite comment thrown my way, I think, from across the week. Craig or Liam, was there any particular highlights of me getting absolutely dragged across the internet?
There was another Harry Potter one, I think, as well. It was very good.
What I find really funny was it was obviously a Ouija who'd felt the need to sort of spell out phonetically AHTS plenty goggles at plenty goggles, which I thought was I was a topper, to be honest.
Yeah, sometimes like you just think you've had a funny moment with your mates, and next thing you know, you're getting absolutely lambasted. It was always going to happen. I thought they would save it until we got beat next, but guys. Screw me. Let's talk all things Hibs. The rule is Hibs are good, Harry's good, and I'm still feeling pretty good after the weekend, to be honest. Craig, give me your initial thoughts going into the game. Obviously a tricky one, but we stood up well.
Do you know what, mate? Going into the game, I would have taken a draw, and coming out of the game, I was happy with a draw. I thought it was a good game, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Hey. Liam, let's keep the positive vibes going before you take a shot at Craig there. It was really good atmosphere. It's always good when the club put on the £5 and sell out stadium.
It was a good atmosphere, and it had the feeling of a big game. I think it had been given kind of the big build up, even from various quarters through the week. It was the game everyone was talking about. Sold out Easter Road Saturday 3:00. They obviously brought a really good travelling support with them as well. So it did have all the trappings of a big game. First half maybe didn't quite live up to that, I don't think. Some good bits to play in the first half, but I felt like the second half, when it got quite end to end, I think that's when people were kind of coming away from the game feeling like they'd got plenty of entertainment for a fiver.
Yeah, I think that's a bit harsh in the first half as well, to be honest. I think that, I know there wasn't any goals in the first half, but I do think that both teams played some pretty nice stuff. Ellie Yuan was at his...
There's not a lot of drama in front of goal, was there? There's no loads of chances for the first half you'd point at and go, that was close. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's definitely fair. But speaking of Ellie Yuan, Craig, were you happy with the starting lineup when you first saw the team sheet?
Yeah. I touched on it last week. I said I thought it would be harsh to drop him after scoring 2 goals. His all-round play was poor against Kelly, but I think essentially when your starting striker wins you the game, it would be quite harsh to drop him. To be honest, we see that quite a lot with Gray. He tends to play players on form. I know some other managers don't tend to like to do that. They have their favourites. Maybe a certain national team manager falls into that bracket. But I was happy to see Yuan starting. What was the other surprise? There was one other that was... Who was it? Somebody else came in that we weren't expecting. Anyway, can't mind. But I was happy to see Yuan and answer your question.
Nice. And Liam, talk to me about I know in particular you thought it was kind of the first 60 minutes or so Hibs kind of... It was a pretty even game throughout, but I just felt like Hibs were a bit in the ascendancy for the start of the game at least.
I think we had probably 50 minutes where we were the better side, but I do think they had a spell towards the end of the first half where things maybe turned a wee bit in their favour. I think that was probably around about the time where Maswinisi got away from Iredale the first time and gets the shot off. It was a game that ebbed and flowed. I think, to be honest, both managers were really honest in their summary after the game, which is quite refreshing because quite a lot of managers in our league like to try and pull the wool over the eyes of fans and tell them they've seen something different from what they've actually seen. I thought Asku's summary was good. It was an entertaining game. Don't think either side had the better of it, but to be honest, the last sort of 15-20 minutes, my sense was if anyone was going to get a winner, it was probably Motherwell and not us. I just think that's the way the sort of game went, and I think there was a variety of reasons for that. I think we'll come out and touch on some of them, but I just think our subs, partly because we've got quite a few players missing, but I think the subs that came on Saturday didn't really have the impact that we would hope they would have, I think.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's fair. But Craig, if you cast your mind back to the last time we played Motherwell, obviously Ewan has kind of hailed it as one of the worst performances in the history of Hibernian Football Club, which was a bit dramatic considering we went down to 10 early on. However, it was night and day performance at the weekend in comparison to that game. Like, it's good that we can actually face a team that demolished us earlier in the season and put in a pretty good showing.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, we touched on that. Totally over the top for Ewan. And I said that to him when he was here, so that's not just because he's not here. I think last time it was a perfect storm of us playing poorly, them playing really well, us being down to 10 men fairly early. I just think they were just better than us. Simple as that, really. But the weekend, I don't think they were quite maybe as shit hot as they have been. And I thought we were a bit better. So I really don't think it's that complicated, to be honest. Team plays well one match and doesn't play well. That's what happens. You get beat 2-0 and then you draw one each. I was still impressed with a couple of their players. A couple of them still look good, and also maybe in our favour as well was the boy Watt not starting. I think that's probably helped us a bit. But the guy Just, he looks a player like he was chopping in Iredale in the first half, was having major troubles with him, and I don't know maybe if that's what led to his Iredale's hesitancy for the Motherwell goal. Maybe didn't want to overcommit himself, so gave him that bit of space. But yeah, casting my mind back, Harry, I think it was much better.
Nice. I suppose we should just kind of talk about that goal now that you've mentioned it. I'm always of the opinions at times that you don't always have to point the finger. I know we probably should have done better. But I think from a Motherwell perspective, it was a very good goal. We probably had too many men committed forward at the time, and then they played 4 passes and it ends up in the back of the net at the end of it. I thought it was a very well worked goal from Motherwell. We knew coming into it, they were dangerous on the transition. And Maz, when you say, Liam, you can obviously take your plaudits for, was it last January you were saying that Hibs should be looking about him?
I think so.
He's just a very good football player. He's just athletically ridiculous and composed finish. So, any gripes with the goal we conceded from our perspective?
I would just like Iredale to be a wee bit closer, to be honest. I don't think you should have six yards of space inside someone's box to get a shot off, is my personal take on it. Just in terms of angles, you're giving them an angle, you're giving them space and room to get the shot off. It might feel a wee bit nitpicky, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think he gets a warning for Maswanise in the first half as well, with that chance. And I think Craig's right. I think he does probably back off because he got done a wee bit. But I just think in general his performances this season have just not lived up to what he was able to produce last season. And it's a bit of a recurring theme, like goals and problems down that left-hand side, to be honest. And it might be him, it might be the fact that the personnel's obviously changed down that side. You would say, I was going to say more regular than the right, but I don't know if that's actually true, given we've had 3 different players playing right wing back this season. But he's not had a good season, Iredale, I think it's fair to say. And I think in possession, I think sometimes in possession he takes the easy option a lot of the time.
I think, being honest, it looks like he's been slightly knocked from the start of the season, because I think at the start of the season he was trying to overplay, and now he seems to not have the composure to just kind of take a touch and play it in. Because I don't know if you remember at the start of the season, there was literally about 5 occasions in which he underhit a ball that got intercepted, and it was like, what is actually happening? But now he just seems to get rid of the thing, which I suppose it's better safe than sorry, but it's not as pleasing on the eye as he was last season.
It's difficult for defenders to find that balance, I suppose. I think the one that springs to mind is obviously the one against Dundee, where he sort of tries to keep it in play in the first game of the season, and it's just a really poor bit of decision making. I'll be honest, I've been a bit disappointed with him this season, and I'm starting to lean towards, when Nicky Cadden's fit again, going to Jordan Abita on the left hand side of that 3 and Nicky Cadden starting.
Yeah, that's exactly what J-Star said. And if you highlight the comment above that one, Craig, from Jason Ladd, that was an experiment, Hanley on the left, that we weren't particularly happy with, were we?
Not for me.
Do you know what? Was it St Johnson that we done that against? It was somebody like that at Easter Road that Hanley played.
Right when Hanley, the Championship, mate.
They're not in the league, mate.
Well, who was it then? It was somebody at Easter Road. Somebody at Easter Road on the left-hand side. Maybe it was Kelly, actually.
I think it was Kelly. The game
Kelly
they
in the
scored just
2-2 game.
Blue, that's where I'm getting confused. I didn't think he was as bad as people were making out. I thought he looked maybe a wee bit uncomfortable in possession, but I just really don't think it was as bad as it was made out after that game. And I think he if he was called upon, he could be more than capable to do a job there on the left-hand side. But I don't think it's necessary when you do have a beater that can, as far as I'm concerned, pretty seamlessly go into that role, as he's shown multiple times in the past. And he's not just gone in there and been okay. He's done really well a beater when he's been put in there. I think Iredale just looks like a player who's lacking a wee bit of confidence now. Whereas maybe last season things were just coming naturally to him and he was just doing things off instinct. I think as you kind of touched on, Harry, with the passing out for the back and stuff, I think he's second guessing himself a lot of the time. The goal at the weekend, I'm utterly convinced that's why he doesn't close him down more, is because he's just got the fear about getting done and leaving space in behind him and getting chopped again. I'm convinced that's why, because otherwise, why would you not just do it? I think maybe Iredale of last season would just run right at him and take the ball off him, to be honest. It's difficult because he's definitely seen as one of the starters in the squad now, but I think maybe it gets to a stage where you go, just take him out of the team for a wee bit.
I don't think that saying that we need to drop a player, saying that a player's awful and that should be on never playing for Hibs again. I think at times players just need a break. They just need to be out of the team for a bit and just kind of reset. So out of the options at the moment, though, are we all kind of leaning towards a Beta starting at left wing back as soon as Nicky Cadden's back fit? Left centre back and then Nicky Cadden out left wing back.
Yeah, I would say so.
Kieran Gallagher also commented that Iredale's only had a 57% pass rate. I've no idea how that ranks in comparison to other centre backs, but it doesn't sound very good considering it's only just over half.
No, I mean, yeah, there's just so much context that's required to make that stat meaningful. Yeah. What he's asked to do might be very different from a lot of centre halves in the league. I would imagine, the Motherwell centre halves, for example, probably 80-90% of their passes are back between each other and then back to the goalkeeper, because of the way they play. Whereas I think we do have a tendency to go long earlier than teams like Motherwell, for example. So you're going to have less accurate passes. But I think one thing I would say with Iredale is I still think he's doing, I think he's still doing quite a lot of the basics fairly well. I still see him, winning most of his duels. I still think he's a really good competitor. He's a good player. It's not a witch hunt by any stretch of imagination, because I'm happy enough when I see his name in the team sheet, but I just think it's one of those positions, like if you were going to go out and get someone in the summer to maybe look at just upgrading that position a wee bit and getting someone just slightly better in, I think that's something we should look to do.
And I also think it's worth noting that although I think the consensus is that he's playing poor just now, he's probably poor at the weekend, I don't think he's anywhere near as bad as the reaction's been acting as if he's
no way
dropped 2 out of 10s every week for the last 4 or 5 games. He's not played great, but it's not like he's not had disasters.
I'm not trying to be funny. Like Lewis Miller at the start of last season, that was a generational run of terrible performances strung together, and he's nowhere near as bad the standard as Lewis Miller started. But then Lewis Miller bounced back and was brilliant towards the end of the season. So I'm taking positive vibes from that Iredale, by the end of the season, we're going to be like, he's great, he's fantastic. It's all going to go good. And let's talk about something a bit more positive. And before we mention the goal, I thought Kieran Bowie was fucking exceptional. I thought that he absolutely manhandled Paul McGinn the entire game. And I want to see him do that more consistently. I know it's like Paul McGinn's probably not the most, it's weird calling him a centre-back, most physical centre-back he's going to face in the league, but he pinned him on so many occasions and it helped the team get up the pitch. And I just thought he was so effective. Like, that's the type of play that I want to see more from Bowie. And Craig, we were waxing lyrical about him. He's in a good vein of form.
I thought he was really good the first half. I thought his link-up play was really strong the first half. A lot of difficult balls coming into him, and he dealt with the vast majority of them really well. I thought he fell off a wee bit the second half, if I'm being honest. I don't think he was quite as good in the second half, but he's a really good player, and he's still young, and he's got that physicality about him. And we touched at the game, like, as much as pinning and out muscling Paul McGinn or a centre half in any team is good. It is Paul McGinn, and he should be with the stature and physicality of Kieran Bowie. He absolutely should be dominating Paul McGinn. Paul McGinn's relying on his intelligence to win that battle, his football intelligence, and Kieran Bowie's just falling back on pure physicality. So it's like a goalie. It's a save he should have made, but he still had to do it. So I was happy with him overall. I don't know if I would say waxing lyrical about him though.
And I felt he did it on Saturday without a lot of help from the referee on Saturday, to be honest. I think that was really noticeable on Saturday, and the lack of decisions that went in his favour. There was one in particular in the first half where Bowie had no contact whatsoever with Paul McGinn, and Paul McGinn had a hold of his shirt and I think also part of his neck potentially at one point, and the free kick went in Motherwell's favour. I do think he struggles with referees a wee bit in this league because he's quite a domineering centre half, and I think quite often the decision goes against him because for no other reason really that he's the bigger guy. From what I can see, I just felt that some of the decisions on Saturday, and it was both ways, right? But like I felt like Bowie didn't get really any decisions in his favour on Saturday that he should have.
He's definitely refereed to a different standard than other players, purely because they're expecting him to do it.
Yeah.
And I think another thing about him as well is, like, we touched on this a couple of times at the start of the season, but it just translates so much better outside of Scottish football. Like, he's going to make a move down south at some point or make a move abroad, and I think he's going to do really, really well in one of those leagues. Like we saw it in Europe, how many fouls and cards and stuff he drew, and I just think that because he's so physical, Scottish refs just don't tend to favour those players in decisions.
He's been down south already though, and I don't think he'll be refereed any differently in England, to be honest.
But that's lower league crap, no like actual decent referees that you sometimes get at the higher level in England. But he did score a goal, and the thing is, this isn't to take away from the goal, but there was a couple of like lucky elements to it. But you make your own luck. Barlaser, I initially complained because I thought he'd shafted that pass, and then he ended up placing it perfectly over the defender. Abita's touch, beautiful, and then Bowie. I actually think Abita tried to hit it past Bowie, but then Bowie kind of he dragged it forward onto his other foot and stuck it in. So there was elements of goals, but beautiful goal nonetheless, and really well worked. Craig, you see my rate with me.
I just feel whenever you talk about anything that Ballister does, like there's a but coming with him.
I just said it was a beautiful pass in the end. Is that not a nice thing to say?
In the end, you're right, but you're saying it with a tone that there was some sort of luck involved. It's a fucking great ball. That's the bottom line. It's a perfectly executed ball. And by the way, the touch for Abita is not just beautiful, it's sublime. It's such a good touch, especially with the man jumping right in front of him, because he could easily take his eye off the ball there and fuck his touch or miss the ball completely. But it's perfect. The first touch in football is absolutely everything. It sets him up so well. So I think you're underselling it a wee bit, to be honest, mate. I think it's a great goal. Really, really good goal.
I wasn't meaning to say it wasn't a good goal. I just, as I said, I just think there was lucky elements to it. But it's nice that we were actually getting some form of luck.
I'd
rather be lucky than good. Is that not fair?
No, I don't think there's any luck involved in it, mate. I think it's just a brilliantly executed goal.
Fair enough. Liam, where do you stand on that?
I think Bowie gets lucky. Honestly, I don't think Barlasser's lucky. I think he does exactly what he's meant to do. I think the only element of luck with Barlasser involved in that is that it's not Stephen O'Donnell, who's about 6 inches taller than the boy who came on to play right back. Because if the boy's 6 inches taller, he cuts it out. But it's not, and he judges it perfectly. It's a really good pass, and he was playing really well up until that point, Barlasser, to be honest, on Saturday. Again, I thought he was really good up until that point. Got really stuck in, battled through it. Craig's laughing. I just saw a comment, Bowie accidentally Bergkamped it. Well, actually, I think you'll find Bergkamp accidentally Bergkamped it.
Yes.
Liam, sorry, I was laughing because you're talking about how good Ballister was. You want to be sitting next to Harry at the game next time. Ballister has a good game. Harry genuinely, before that pass, would have said Ballister had dropped a 1 out of 10. everything he done was, oh, for fuck's sake, what's that?
No, is
That's
that,
shite, this
see,
is shite.
Craig's got this agenda against my agenda against Barca. I'm going to keep the agenda going because mainly because it winds up Craig. But secondly, I do think that he does leave a lot to be desired off the ball. I don't think that can be denied. Can he ping a ball? Absolutely. First half, someone played it to him, and around the corner, he whipped it down the wing to, I think, Megwa, and it was a really nice ball. He's good at that sort of thing. When he's got the ball in unpressured situations, he does ping it about well, as we've seen for that goal. However, I do. Like, there was a couple of times in the first half where just literally took one touch and he went from in line with Barlaser to 10 yards ahead of him, and I was like, geez. But J-Star asked in the comments, Harry, would you like us to keep him yet? I'm still to be one round yet, J-Star, but he's got the rest of the season to win me over. But from a Hibs perspective, the game probably fizzled out. Liam mentioned the subs earlier, Craig. Just, is that something that we need to address in this window? Just try and get a bit more strength and depth on the bench? Options to bring on?
I suppose so. Well, that's the whole idea of the window, is that you want to do that every window. I think I probably still lie exactly where I did before. I think maybe the need or the hole in this, one of the main holes in the squad has kind of not been covered across the mainstream. Maybe he's looking for a right wing back and a striker, which is obviously important. But I kind of look at those positions and go, well, we've already got options there. A six, we don't have a six full stop in the squad. So I feel like that's kind of going under the radar a wee bit as an out-and-out six. Ballister came in as a six, but he just isn't. Not as I know it anyway. In the mould of the Levitt and Ballister type of six, where they go back and get the ball and everything's very pretty. But maybe when it gets a wee bit less pretty, they're a bit anonymous. So I'm kind of on the school of thought that Liam's been in for a long time. Just gives a hard bastard in the middle.
Nice. And
I think the squad's just on that, Harry. Sorry, I think the squad gets better when we get players back from injury, and you know, notably Rocky and Chaiwa back from AFCON. I felt that the sub the game needed on Saturday was Josh Campbell. I felt like he was the absolute ideal player to bring on at that stage of the game, and it was quite stretched. And I felt like we, particularly after Bowie went off, we needed an aerial threat, and we didn't have that. And I continue to be dumbfounded by Junior Hoylett, to be honest. It's just not a good sub. Pretty much every time he comes on, he drops a stinker. And he doesn't really contribute anything of note, to be honest. And it's getting to the stage where even though there was 40 minutes left and he played much football, I'd far rather see Molotnikov for 40 minutes than Hoylett.
Yep, I don't think I disagree. Has there been any news on Campbell? I feel he just kind of dropped out the team, and I can't remember seeing anything about why.
I'm not sure.
We've obviously got Boyle and Nicky Cadden to come back in as well. So the squad gets, I think they're back for Dunfermline. So the squad does get, even just with two of those players coming back, and presumably Chaiwa being good to go, squad does get quite a lot stronger just with the three of them coming in. You're going, there's a couple of players missing out on the bench all of a sudden with those guys back.
Yeah, no, for sure. I just think that one thing we have to touch on actually at the game, the referee was fucking stinking, wasn't he? It was like, it's annoying how often we have to talk about referees, but I feel this guy, every time he refs at Easter Road, we have to mention him because he's that bad. Like, he is just consistently horrific at officiating football games.
I don't think we talk about referees that much. I think we skate over it a lot because I think everyone just accepts the consensus is they're just not very good. But that performance on Saturday, and it wasn't like he did one team or the other out of stuff, but just the performance on Saturday was horrific. I mean, how he books Obita, and then literally 5 minutes later, Longello does something far worse in the corner. He pulled Megwa back. We were behind it. He pulled Megwa back by the neck to the ground, and he doesn't book him. And then Longello then has that challenge on the halfway line, which he's then booked for, which would and should have been a red card because he should have already been in the book. I mean, okay, you can say he maybe plays it differently on the basis on a yellow card, but just I thought he was pitiful on Saturday. Honestly, absolutely. But I had no faith when the boy was it Priestman that stopped the counter attack in the second half. I had no faith he was going to go back and book him, and I know he couldn't do anything because the ball didn't go out of play, etc., etc. But no faith he was going to actually address that because it felt like he just completely lost control of the game at that point.
And there was one point as well where one of our players made a tackle, and none of the referee wasn't going to give anything, and neither of the linesmen flagged, and the Motherwell fans went mental. And literally 3 seconds after it happened, they gave it just because the Motherwell fans were going mental. I've never seen a ref crumble like that in my life. As you say, loads of Motherwell fans on Twitter were saying how terrible a performance it was. So you're spot on with saying it wasn't just Hibs feeling like we were being badly refereed. It was just kind of a joint issue of him just not having a good day at the office. But is there anything else on the game you want to touch on that we've not covered? Any particular performances you want to highlight?
Don't think so, mate.
I thought just to give him his flowers, I thought Megwa did well on Saturday. Thought showed a wee bit more in the final third than he's shown up until this point. Thought he was kind of a wee bit unlucky with his chance. I think he does well to get out his feet and get the shot off. And I thought he defended well too, to be honest. I know he was obviously taken off, but I thought he had a decent game. But I just think the main thing for me is getting much of that squad back to play Dunfermline on Saturday. I think it makes those players coming back makes us a much more well-rounded and stronger team.
Rocky was on the bench, wasn't he?
Aye. I don't know if he was on the bench or he was just warming up. Because he was on the pitch, but I don't know if he was actually in the squad. I
forgot they got knocked out. I forgot they get knocked out in penalties or something, DR Congo.
No, it was supposed to be penalties, and then it was just before did Samboino score a screamer or something for Algeria.
All right. Styrian. But it's good to have them back. Obviously, there's those rumours about why Chaya was not being back yet, because he was knocked out before Rocky, wasn't he? And you'd like to have seen him back a lot sooner, because again, much like Campbell, he's a player who I think would have been really handy to have come on Saturday if he was fit and available, just with the pace of the game and how quickly it was moving. And you could see Mulligan was really tired, and Gray didn't go to the bench until quite late to take him and Barlasser off for Levitt and Newell, which, I'll be honest, Levitt and Newell coming on with 4 minutes to go is not really a sub that people are going to get excited about.
Oh, that gave me the absolute fear when I seen them two coming on to play midfield at that point in the game, because at that stage it did definitely feel like Motherwell were the team on top, and I just thought, these guys are going to come on and get absolutely run over here. But thankfully it was okay.
And he would have got crucified, Gray, if we'd lost the game for there. We haven't brought those two on, even though I think there was shouts around me to get Mulligan off on about sort of 65 minutes because he felt he was tired. And I don't know what it is with the game, because he's obviously only played one game this week. I don't know if it was just the nature of the game being so end-to-end that he was struggling, or he was having to get through so much work. He was like a man possessed at points in the first half as well, when he Mulligan. But aye,
so good. I absolutely love him.
We know, Craig. We know.
And Craig's going to wear that badge of honour for the rest of his life. And just looking to Twitter, some of our wonderful followers, Jason Kemp said, quite an even game to two very decent sides. Draw was probably a fair result in the end. Weird taking Mulligan and Barlasser off, though. Didn't get those changes at all. As we just kind of touched on there, just a bit tired for Mulligan and Barlasser. Few games coming up, so probably needs a rest. Ewan McAleese, not the only one to mention, but said that effing ref should never officiate a game again. Kev Wilson said, very little quality from midfield when McGrath went off. Gray decision-making with subs poor again. Another Bowie goal, good to see. Keeps adding to his value. Will comfortably finish with 15-plus goals this season. Is Gray's substitutions something that concerns you? I know we've mentioned it kind of in passing a couple of times, or do you think it's just the quality of player more than the manager's decision-making?
I just don't really think it's that notable, to be honest. I know Liam and Ewan touched on it a wee bit in a pod in previous weeks about the timing of the subs and when we're actually making them, but I honestly just don't feel like it's that big a deal. It doesn't really bother me too much at all. Maybe I'm not looking into it enough. Yawn.
I mean, the only issue is the one I've already mentioned is one substitute in particular that he keeps bringing on, but it feels like he's almost contractually obliged to bring that player on at some point in the game.
It's a
I think if you look at his
contributions,
his contributions are not bad off the bench this year.
His numbers are good. Yeah, his numbers are good.
He has stunk the gaff out with his performances, but...
I was looking at like per 90s and stuff the other day, and he's like number one in the squad for shots per 90 because obviously comes on and gets a lot of shots in a very short period of time. I think he's got 4 goals or something off the bench this season. You know, he's obviously doing stuff that adds numbers, but it's the actual performances this season they've just not been there at all for me. And I think it's maybe just one season too many in the tank.
Yeah, and he got a freebie
World
against
Cup.
Aberdeen.
He did
no
that.
good.
Just one final thing in the game, Harry. I was having a wee look at draws because we talked about a number of draws that we've had as a football club over the last 2.5 years, which has felt like we are the draw specialists of the league. And actually, I haven't gone and looked at the data. It turns out we are the draw specialists of the league. So we've drawn more games as a percentage of more draws as a percentage of our total games than any other team in the top flight over the last 2.5 years. 34 of our 97 games have been draws. And Motherwell, actually, coincidentally, have had the second most draws in the league in that period of time. So maybe Craig's very negative 1-1 prediction that he did last week was actually a really astute prediction because they are the 2 draw specialists of the league, it would seem. So it's not just me that feels like we just draw all the time. We do actually just draw most of our games.
It's not me that just feels like that. It's just fact. Yeah,
it's just fact. It's just
quite
fact.
an impressive number, that 34 out of 97. Did you say?
34 out of 97. Yeah, it's like 35%, and a lot of that, to be honest, is we've been high on that number across each of the last 3 seasons consistently, including this one. But obviously, there was one particular season where we drew a very high percentage of our games 2-2 as well, which didn't help matters. I look at it, right, and Motherwell were second. They were actually joint second with Kelly, I think, on 30 games. But you want to take our comparative rivals, Hearts, only 20 of their 97 games have been draws, so almost half the number of draws that we've had, and Aberdeen 24. So if you're looking at how to turn this football club from a club that's sitting 5th and pushing towards Europe and having a really strong season, see if we were just to turn 4 or 5 of our draws into wins, we would catapult up the table, which I know is just it's just X's and O's at the end of the day, isn't it? But I do think it's something that as a football club we just have to win more games, especially home games, and that's why I didn't agree with you early on, Craig, when you said you were happy with a point. I think that was a game that we absolutely, because we were at home, we had to go and try and win that. I
just felt it was a must not lose. That's kind of how I was viewing it, because I think if you lost that, it would have been 5 points clear of us, 5 or 6 points clear of us. Whereas if you draw it, you're still right in they drop points next week and we win, and we're right on their tails.
Presumably, we still got to go to the first part before the split, though, right? So
yes.
So and that will be a more difficult game. You would hasten Easter Road. So I think when you're direct competitors, you've got to be winning at least one of those pre-split fixtures.
Yeah, no, I take your point on. Obviously, a game at home, you would absolutely be wanting to win it. But I just felt with the form and that Motherwell have been in, and the lack of goals that they've been conceding, going into the game, I was not happy with a draw, because you should never be happy with a draw and not winning. But I was probably quite content with it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I know that wasn't an example of it, Liam, but I'd be curious to see, especially in the last couple of seasons, how many of those draws came from winning positions too, because that's what frustrates me a bit more than the obviously there you technically say that's a point gain because you went behind, but I just know so many times, even this season, I think there's probably been about 5 or 6 times we've had a decent lead and then not won the game in the end, which is a bit frustrating. But yeah, I'm enjoying these stats, Liam. I like it how you kind of, whenever I throw something out and I try to verify it, it just turns out to be nonsense, whereas you throw out things and then look it up and you're like, oh, I was actually right on that one.
Well, I kind of want to prove the opposite point a lot of the time when I look at it, and I'm always disappointed when I don't actually prove the opposite point. And as it was in this case, I wanted to come on and say we don't actually draw that many games, but the stats were quite depressing. 34 tonight, 35% of your games to end up in draws. It's not great, is it? For where we want to be in terms of this league. It's don't want to use the words, it's not good enough, but I do think if there was something you were going to look to improve, it would be converting more draws against teams who really at home we should be beating into wins.
And you're obviously comparing it against Aberdeen and Hearts, sort of teams that you would expect to be in and around us. It'd be interesting to see the difference in stats from games won and lost, because I think that provides context as well. Because obviously you'd rather draw a game than lose it. So, for example, I imagine Aberdeen over the last couple of seasons, they'll have had a lot of games that they've drawn less games than us, but I would imagine they've probably lost more games than us also. You would
Aberdeen certainly, but yeah, I mean,
and Hearts up until the start of this season would have been in a similar boat as that as well, losing a bit more games. So yeah, there's positives to spin out. You'd rather not lose a game, or rather draw a game than lose it. But definitely, there's been a lot of avoidable draws this season and last season as well, with games that were dropping really silly points. Falkirk away, Kilmarnock at home. These types of games where you definitely should be seeing the game out and you're being 2-0 up in a game. But we can still have success with the draws, because I'm sure championship winning season under Lenny, did we not draw a lot of games that year as well?
And if we want to put a more positive slant on it and keep it to the current side, a good bit of discourse going on in the YouTube comments. If you want to engage with us live, please do jump in the YouTube channel. But John McGlynn started by saying Sanders saved those draws from being losses. He's been amazing, making very few mistakes. J-Star said best save ratio in the league. And Kieran followed up by saying Salinger is a massive reason we're as high as we are. And Jason Ladd said Salinger is the best keeper we've had for a long time. Better than Marciano. I'll leave that to the floor. Is Rafael Salinger better than Ophir Marciano?
No, we've not got a big enough sample size yet.
Get off the fence and make a choice. You had to pick one. You've got both available right now. Who you start?
I'll say, right, if you extrapolate his form since he made it was his debut against Falkirk.
Yes.
If you extrapolate his form from that game to now, if he was to continue that for 2 seasons, I would say he's better than Marciano.
Yeah, but it's a very isolated period just now.
Can you sustain that? It's not that isolated, Craig. He's played about 15, 20 games. Like,
yeah, but it's still isolated in comparison to Marciano.
But Marciano, his levels, he was capable of being very good, but I don't think Marciano was necessarily as consistent as some people remember him to be. I think he was capable of some incredible saves. I think his capability was up here, but I think his consistency could be questioned at times.
I'm not sure it's entirely fair to compare a player one with 15 to 20 games or whatever it is to one who had as many as Marciano, because for all we know at this moment in time, this could just be Salinger. He's in a good vein of form,
and that's why I said you need to extrapolate it over the course of a couple of seasons. It has to be sustained.
And just to jump in on that, Craig, extrapolate is a very cool word. So fuck you. Sorry, Liam. Continue.
He's also a lot better with his feet than Marciano. I mean,
that's key.
I mean, almost. Marciano's like a badminton player and Salinger's a football.
Yeah,
level of difference.
That is definitely a big difference in the distribution and the quality of it. And I think you can see it's definitely something that we play for now. That ball out to Warren Horrors, it's happening game after game. I was a wee bit surprised actually at the weekend. We've done it a few times, and I was saying, why are Motherwell not closing that off? Because it's quite obviously the way that we're trying to get out, and it's not exactly secret because we've been doing it every single game just about. So I'm still surprised to see us actually getting away with it as often as we are, because it's quite effective.
And on my 2 cents on the thing, I just think as an all-round goalkeeper, I think he's better. I think shot stopper, it's definitely debatable because obviously Marciano pulled off some ridiculous saves, but I just think that Salinger's proven himself to be quite good at everything you want a keeper to be good at. His distribution's probably the best we've seen in our time watching Hibs, Craig. I can't think of anyone better off the top of my head.
Just wasn't even a thing though.
That's definitely a valid point. Yeah,
David Marshall was shit hot at distribution the first 5 games and then fell off a cliff after
that. But that's a very fun question. I think that's good, and it speaks well to Salinger that whether you agree or not that he's better than Marciano, at least he's in the conversation, because nobody since Marciano has been. But moving on, we'll do transfers next. Do you want to talk energy? Do you want to talk potential outs? I think we do outs because I think they're quite funny and I don't think they're going to happen. And if they do happen, then we can just point the finger more reason for
like
people
you
to
get
laugh
clipped
at me.
up for getting something wrong.
Mate, to be fair, the last time I clipped myself up, it didn't
true.
go very well.
That is true.
But the rumour has it that Celtic apparently, and Rangers are knocking the door for Kieran Bowie. The transfer tag is supposedly at 6.5 million. For me personally, I think selling them to Celtic or Rangers for 6.5 million, unless it's going to be a sell-on of just pure percentage of next sale of like 50% plus, I don't see that as good value. I think especially because either club would probably ruin him. And it'd just be a bit shit to see a potential Scotland prospect go and have his career ruined at Celtic or Rangers. 6.5 million, would you take that in January?
No.
It's a lot of money, but no, I wouldn't take it, because I think from a Kieran Bowie point of view, I honestly believe the best thing for him to do is to stay at Hibs and be in a team where he knows that he's going to play. He knows if he's fit, he's going to play, and he's going to get plenty of game time between now and the end of the season. He's got a much better chance of getting into that Scotland squad and play in the games at the World Cup with consistent minutes under his belt. Personally, I don't know if the style of football would suit him or not, but I think more young Scottish players should be looking at going abroad. Like we've seen a lot of them going to the Italian league. I think that's definitely seems to be a blueprint that works for a lot of them. So I would say stick with it, do a John McGinn, just keep your head down, get on with it, and then you'll get a good move off the back of it.
I think
Liam, you instantly shook your head at 6.5. Have you got a price tag you'd start listening?
I think to a direct rival, it's probably, somewhere in the region of sort of £9 to £10 million, to be honest, for a direct rival in the January window. I think when you add all those things together, I don't think we would get that, and therefore it becomes a moot point. But I think that's the value at which we should sell. I think if a club was to come in the summer, it was, a club that's not a direct competitor, I think we could maybe deal at 6.5, 7 million potentially. But I just think, it's going to hamstring us for the rest of the season selling them. So why would we do that? I also think from the player's point of view, I think he needs another 18 months at Hibs, to be honest. I don't think he's ready for a move yet. I think he's still a lot of elements to his game that are quite rough as a centre forward and could be doom with being ironed out a little bit. I think he's a great prospect, but he's got time on his side. He's still only 23. I think 18 months at Hibs wouldn't suit us necessarily very well, because I think he'd probably only have a year left on his contract at that stage if he was to stay for 18 months, unless we could, work through some sort of extension with him. But I do think from the player's point of view, stay here and get the minutes.
We definitely won't get 18 months with him now. I think we'll get to the summer. I think he'll be away in the summer. I just don't see it as realistic that he's at Hibs that long. I agree with you that it's the right thing. It would be the right thing for him. But I can't see him being here beyond the summer.
I think all I would hope for then for him is, if it's not TV Hibs and he's to go in 6 months' time, is that he goes somewhere where there's not a guarantee. There's never any guarantees in this game, but there's a high likelihood of him playing serious minutes. I don't know if either of those two clubs necessarily necessitate that. I think he would be better off suited going into Serie A, like Craig mentioned. Probably not the English Championship, to be honest, because I think the demands in terms of games he would be expected to play, I think, would be too high based on what I've seen of his conditioning. I don't, unless he's sort of used on rotation. He's not. I have every faith he'll be here come the end of the window.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat. I don't think that we need to worry about him going in January. I'd be very surprised. I think if he was to go, I think that it would only be if we had at least one other strong striker option come in, namely probably Lyndon Dykes. I think if Dykes was to come in, then they could potentially listen for offers. I know they're not the exact same player, but they would kind of play the same role. The next outing, again, Celtic apparently sniffing around Miguel Chaiwa. Just a bit random, isn't it? It just doesn't really, I don't think that Chaiwa, I think Chaiwa's got really good potential to be a really good player, especially at Hibs. But for the problem Celtic have got, it just doesn't really fix any of their issues, does it? It just seems stupid. Like, why would Celtic spend money when they've clearly got holes across the pitch? Why would they spend money on a youth prospect that probably doesn't break into their midfield much at the moment?
I don't think that was genuine. I think
Wasn't that? Oh, okay.
I think what probably happened in all likelihood is there was a club, I think it was Fiorentina with their club, interested, who were interested in just another club's name was thrown in with Fiorentina to make it sound more credible. I think it's probably what's happened in all likelihood. But he's a player with really high ceiling. Like, I can understand why people would be interested in him, and he's got a body of work before he came to Hibs. You know, I think he played maybe 30 times for Young Boys and for various other clubs on loan and stuff before he came to Hibs. So people will be judging him off the back of that, and obviously his performances at the African Cup of Nations as well. All these games will be getting watched, so it's not necessarily just about what he's done at Hibs, but what he's done elsewhere too.
Yeah, and the rumour was it like 1.8 million or something, was the supposed rumour. If we can turn around a 1.2 million profit in 6 months on a guy that none of us had heard of, I think that'd be pretty shrewd business. If we can get a nice wee sell-on clause on that as well.
Classic Hibernian Football Club play.
Nice. Craig, would you be disappointed to see him go, or would you be happy to make the profit?
I'd be disappointed, but I don't think you can turn your nose up it, really, to be fair. If somebody was to come and offer that, absolutely. For a guy that's found minutes very limited, aye.
Wasn't that? I thought 600,000 for him.
I can't see anything coming of it just now, to be honest. I'd be very surprised if somebody paid that much for him just now. Player with definitely very good raw attributes, and we've seen that against Warsaw and stuff. Has shown definitely in flashes how good he can be. But I think for him the main challenge just now would just be nailing down a starting spot.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I was just Googling because Jason Ladd said we paid nearly 1 million for him. According to the internet, we paid roughly 800,000 euro, which is about 680,000, which is obviously a lot of money for Hibs. But yeah, interesting. And then 2 rumoured incomings. Do you just want to talk about the one that's supposedly closer, or just want to talk about the one that's a bit more out there?
Paslak, could we go with Paslak is the one that's closer?
Yeah, just because in the group chats, people are saying it's a done deal, which we definitely shouldn't take as gospel. But
well, the Observer covered it today, didn't they?
Yeah.
Which, you know, probably lends some credibility to you know, I think what just started as a German football page that was based in Essen, coincidentally started the rumour. He's a player I was aware of from his time at Borussia Dortmund. A very good player, I think, for a period for them, albeit he was kind of used in fits and starts. I think he's technically, you know, based on, I mean, it all depends on how his sort of performances at Bundesliga level translate to the Scottish Premiership, but I think technically probably feels like he's up a level from what we've got in that position currently, probably quite a significant upgrade. Again, I'm not sure how his sort of athleticism will sort of transfer to Scottish football. He's quite a wee guy. I don't think he's extremely quick, but I don't think he's slow either. He's a good dribbler. He certainly, to me, would be a much more attacking option that we've got there in terms of both chance creation, assists, but also a player who probably gets quite a lot of touches in the final third versus what we've got at the moment. So very interesting if we go for it. I think his career's maybe not lived up to early promise, and he's been on the slide a wee bit in Germany, so it would probably make sense as well from the player's perspective. He'd definitely be a signing that I would be quite excited about, to be honest.
Craig, I don't know about you, but I don't know much about this guy. And Liam is explaining to me the right-back equivalent of Mizzy and Maulida. That is exactly what I'm hearing by the way Liam's describing him. Liam was aware of him, knows he can be a baller, hasn't been the best in recent years, but he's going to come at Hibs and tear up the league. Is that the vibe you're getting, Craig?
Oh, I'm more than happy to go with Liam's description of the player. I'll be honest, don't know anything about him. I knew the name, but I didn't know anything about where he played or anything like that. But it seems like a good pedigree. And I absolutely don't think that we as Hibs fans can be turning our noses up at players who've played in the Bundesliga very recently. So just purely on pedigree and clubs he's played at, I would say it looks, you would imagine, like it would be a decent signing.
It's a kind of strange one as well, because he played basically every game for them in the Bundesliga last season, and then they got relegated, and he's not really been used very regularly in the league down. You would think, if they were going to retain a player who'd played a lot in the Bundesliga, you would be kind of a player that would play most weeks in the second tier, but he's been used mostly off the bench this season. I think he's the sort of signing that has the potential to be like one of those ones that you're like, he really takes you up a level if you were to get him in. Just because I think that area of the pitch we have been, let's be honest, we've been lacking in goals and assists coming from that side of the pitch, right? So if you add something else in there, another dimension that people have to think about, and maybe helps to unlock a wee bit of the left-hand side at the same time as well. They can't give as much pressure and attention to Nicky Cadden when he's roaming free on the left, or Jamie McGrath when he's out on the left, or Jordan Obita, because you've got this threat now coming from the right-hand side.
Nice. And yeah, I think most Hibs fans at the moment are probably saying that's the area of the pitch that they most want to fill either between now or the summer. So good to see that we are not happy with that comment, Craig.
I just don't agree with it. I feel that's overkill. I get it's definitely an area that we can and should be looking to improve on, but do you know what? My balanced answer, it's probably a good thing and shows that our squad is not in too bad a place, that we're looking to improve a position that isn't horrendous. We're not horrendous. We've got Chris Cadden and Mego who's performing pretty well at the moment, and I think he's definitely deserving to be in his starting place. And if Mego was to keep that form, you wouldn't really look at that as so much of a problem area. But I think it maybe shows that our squad's in quite a decent place. But it's definitely not wholesale changes that we're looking at in January. It's 2 or 3 to improve on positions. And like I touched on earlier, I would say the main hole in the squad is a 6. But
I think Cadden's deal expires summer 2027. I think I'm right in saying he signed a 2-year extension last year.
Right. Yep.
You wonder if we'll go out to sign a right wing back, what does that mean, for him and for Megwa? Because we're not going to carry 3 right wing backs in the squad, and I don't think either of them really can be used elsewhere. So, there is obviously an intent. They've looked at it. He's a player who coincidentally has only got 6 months left in his contract. That's past lack I'm talking about now. Timing's important. I think it just makes sense for Hibs to look at that position, to be honest, just with where the squad's at. I don't know, there's just, for me, I know you said about the number 6, I just don't think there's anyone else that really jumps out quite as much as that.
My way of looking at it, and it's not a slight on Cadden or Megwa, I just think that if you've got a full strength Hibs team at the moment, I just think that's the position I'd say is probably weakest in comparison to everywhere, like every other position on the pitch. If you've got our starting player in there, not to say he's a weak player, but just to say he's not as Liam touched on earlier. I just think if you can improve, you should improve.
Absolutely.
There's space for that there.
The thing is, I 100% agree with that, and I definitely think that we should be doing it. I feel like the narrative's been painted that it's such a massive problem area in our squad, and I don't know if I'll go along with it being as much of a problem as that. I think it's more looking at improving rather than replacing.
I don't see it as a problem necessarily, but if you look at Chris Cadden this season and last season combined, he's got 3 assists. Paslak in the Bundesliga last season got 6 assists at a considerably higher level, playing right back rather than right wing back as well.
Absolutely.
So, I know assists aren't necessarily the be all and end all, but I do think there just has to be more coming for that right hand side than we've got currently. And even of the 3 assists, 2 Cadden's came against Livy earlier on this season in the same game. So I do think I'm a huge Chris Cadden fan, always have been. I think he gives 110%. I think he's been really good for the club over the piece, but I just do think it's an area now that we can upgrade.
Do you think that means if Paslak comes in, or when he comes in as it looks, one of these Meg or Cadden leaves?
Think so.
Who would you rather?
Don't know, to be honest. I really don't know.
Anyway, let's not talk about it as if it's too.
Megwa to prove you wrong stays. I think he's already proved you wrong, to be fair.
Yeah, I think he's past the point of no, it was to be fair, he was right on Del Ferrier. Sorry, sidetrack. Speaking of names that I'm going to butcher. No, he definitely did. Yeah, he said it was ridiculous to give him a 4-year deal, didn't he? Dafty.
I actually think Mego should have played more this season as well. I thought there was opportunity earlier in the season to get him in and get him games earlier, and we didn't do it. So I'm glad he's getting a run now.
Well, I've been saying this name in my head for the last 5 minutes or so let's hope I don't book it. The next player is supposedly Bailey Cadamarteri. Huh? Yep, we got it. He is a tall, strong centre forward, damn it, but had the ball at some point. Centre forward who plays for Sheffield Wednesday and is a Jamaican international. Supposedly, if you ask a Sheffield Wednesday fan, we've bid 7 figures for him. If you ask the news, we've bid in the region of like 250,000. I won't lie, I don't know much about him. I know that Sheffield Wednesday are in kind of financial not great situation, which is probably why we're knocking the door there.
I think, to say the least, I think they've got the administrators and everything not. So yeah, I know the best. I mean, don't really know much about him, to be honest, but I am old enough to have seen his dad play. So it's one of those ones where you're like, all right, this is cool. It's a bit like the Fletcher twins playing for Man United at the moment. You know, I'm like, I remember your dad coming through, and now I'm watching you play, and I'm not even that old, and that's saying something. But no, his dad obviously had a stint up here at Dundee United 15 years ago, I'm going to say. Wasn't particularly prolific, but I think he was quite well liked Dundee United. I'm not going to kid on that I've seen Bailey Cadamarteri play, other than to say his goal scoring record doesn't look great, but he's a young player, and I think by the sounds of it and what I've read from Sheffield Wednesday fans, I think his sort of hold up play and the kind of striker he is probably not like a poacher. He's probably more in that sort of Lyndon Dykes type mould. Big physical centre forward, puts himself about, but he's obviously quite young.
Are you getting to feed in there?
I have absolutely nothing to contribute here, Harry. Sorry.
That is the down the slope that we promise to bring you every week, guys. Who needs to be informed when we can bring the right? But that's kind of the main 2 rumours that we saw. Harry Clark, who was rumoured a couple of weeks back, he's went on loan somewhere else. I can't remember who it was, but Ipswich have let him go out. Sheffield United. And I've not really seen any
games.
Yeah, but quality in those 2 games. Player of the year. Is there any other rumours that we've seen, or any other names that you want to throw out there whilst we're chatting transfers?
When you go, Liam, I'm sure you've got a long list.
Me, I don't, but is Maswanisi not only got 6 months left on his contract at Motherwell?
I doubt we can pry Maswanisi away.
I think he's going to bigger and better things, isn't he, to be honest, based on his record this season. I was, not to make it all about them at the weekend, I was really impressed with him. I really like the look of Elijah Just as well, but my sense is that he's probably a bit too diminutive for this Hibs side. I also thought Stephen Welsh, again, I know he's been recalled obviously by Celtic tonight. I'm not even sure he would come in and start, but as a sort of long-term option, potentially. I don't know.
Unconvinced.
Think it's just a purple patch.
Yeah, do you know what? This is my thing just now with a lot of the Motherwell players, and I feel like I've got fairly sound basis for this theory, is that the Motherwell players that are playing really well, vast majority, I think there's probably 1 or 2 good ones in there that will continue to be good, but I think the vast majority of them are just in a purple patch and playing really well, because you're talking about a team. I was saying to Harry, and I think I said it on the pod last week actually, this is a team that's playing Stephen O'Donnell and Paul McGinn, and I think in a back 3, is it, or is
that's a back 4?
No, but I'm sure they played a back 5 against Celtic.
Oh, did they?
I'm sure they switched up for Celtic and played a back 5 with Stephen O'Donnell and Paul McGinn against Celtic, and comfortably pumping, regardless of how good Celtic are just now. And Stephen O'Donnell turning into fucking like prime Maldini, dribbling out for the back, putting crosses in. So I feel like this is just a wizard of a manager pulling out some performances out of this team. But so that's why I have a bit of a fear about the Motherwell players, as I feel like they're these guys that you would pick up and then we'd come to Hibs and probably are not actually turn out to be that great, and we've paid a bit of cash for them.
So reluctant is probably my word with that. Reluctant.
I share your reluctance. I did also hear Tom English. I think it was Tom English suggest on the radio at the weekend that Rangers should sign Elliot Watt, who was out injured obviously from Motherwell. This is Elliot Watt, who could hardly get a game for St Johnstone when they got relegated last season. I mean, I do think people just need to calm their jets a wee bit with Motherwell in general. To be honest, as good as they've been this season, and they have been very good. I would just want to see it over a slightly larger sample size.
It's not like setting Radio Scotland channels to be overly reactionary in their punditry. I mean, one minute you're a world beater, and the next minute you're the worst thing ever. Harry, in a long-winded response to your question about any other transfer targets, this is my next guy that I'm plugging. It's not anything that I've come up with at all, because I know everybody else is doing it as well. But David Watson, I want him in the Hibs team so badly. I think he's class. I love everything about him. He's giving me shades of Josh Mulligan again. Get him in. I think he's a lock to Hearts. Yeah, so do I with the Derek McInnes link. I do. I think there's a very good chance of that. I don't want to insult any of the Kelly fans.
I was just going to say, did McInnes not drop him for quite a suspended spell last season as well, though? Quite a long spell.
Pass.
I think he'll be getting offered a lot of money from outside of Scotland.
That was going to be next
like
one.
He's got a lot of eyes on him. I think he'll want to pretty good things.
If
we can somehow fleece him and get him, fleece everyone else, and get him in, I would love it. But I just don't see it happening.
I don't want to go in with the Celtic attitude of, we'll go in and we'll just take David Watson off Kilmarnock for buttons, as they like to say what they're going to do with everybody else's players in the league. But if you were to ask me a player I want, I would say him.
Nice. And Ewan has just joined us in the chat. Hi, Ewan. We have been so polite about you the entire evening. But one final thing to wrap us up. We are going away to Dunfermline in the Scottish Cup this weekend. Sounds like it's a really decent crowd that we've got, isn't it? Like they've got
6,500 or something we've sold. I mean, it's going to be like 6. I'm sure it is, Craig. I'm sure.
I think it's 4. I've seen on a report there's 4,000.
I thought Kieran Power said we'd sold out 5,200 tickets and there was more allocation. I might be wrong. Probably I'm wrong, to be honest. It's my favourite away day in Scotland.
Is it?
I love East End Park.
It's my first ever away day, actually. We lost 1-0. So
I've never seen Hibs lose East End Park.
Well, that's a good sign. How
many times have you been?
I once, not that many, but I once went on a Monday night. Someone will need to look it up because a certain pal of mine made us late because we got the train to Inverkeithing later than we should have. And we won 4-0 on a Monday night. And we got there and we were already 2-0 up. We weren't even that late. I'm sure it was 4-0. 8 o'clock game on a Monday night. I'm sure it was live on Satanta, but we made the trip up. It was good. Very good. I love the wee walk from the train station through the park and that as well. It's something class about Dunfermline. I don't know what it is. It's almost too close to be a really good away day, but I really like East End Park.
Nice.
And Cal, we've filled up trains
there.
No trains now. And what was the other thing as well? Something else, some other sort of disruption beyond no trains. Can't remember. But anyway, nightmare.
But does anybody want to give me any players? I can't be asked in full 11. Any players in particular you want to see start this game that we might not have seen of late?
Cleege. I want to see Cleege starting. I want to see him back in there. I feel like it's a good game to give him minutes, and it's not like you're sacrificing quality just to give a player minutes. He's well good enough, so get him started. Hopefully, he can get a couple of goals, get the confidence going. I'm reluctant to know. We were talking earlier about Nicky Cadden coming back. I just worry about it being too soon for him. I think you'll be up against a team that will be right up for it, which gives me the fear a wee bit because Nicky Cadden has perhaps shown to be a wee bit fragile this season. He seems like he's been battered about a bit. Obviously, he's had his nose stuff, and then seems to be in and out with injury quite a lot. So maybe a wee bit too soon for him.
Fair. And Liam, yourself, one or two players you fancy seeing in the starting lineup?
Probably just Nicky Cadden and Felix Paslak.
I'll throw it. I'd love to see Rudy get a full like 70 minutes.
Nah,
it'd be nice from no.
Nah, sorry lads, but I mean this is a difficult cup tie. Like, this is not. With all due respect to Rudy Molotnikov, give him the last 20 minutes. Something. We need to win this game. I think we need to take Dunfermline very seriously. I do. I wouldn't go bringing in players to give them minutes. It's just not that kind of occasion. We need to go and win the tie first. I think this will be just as difficult as Ayr United was last season.
Yeah, fair.
Sorry, it'd be pish on
I agree. I definitely think we should be approaching it. I know when it came out, I've seen quite a few folk acting as if because it was a championship side that it was going to be easy.
Nah.
But I feel like
look who their manager is, mate. They'll be bang up for it.
These types of games are like typical like banana. It's not even a banana skin because I feel like maybe Dunfermline are maybe too established a bigger club for it to be classed as a banana skin. But it's very losable, very very losable.
Aye, if honestly, if we're not at it on Saturday, especially it's on Saturday half-12 for a reason, right? Everyone is waiting for that to be an upset. Just like when they put us on the Friday night against Ayr United, they want to get the upset in there early, just like Macclesfield did to Crystal Palace on Saturday. It's not quite of that proportion, obviously, but I think it's got all the potential for us to lose that. And they've got so many good players at their disposal. You know, someone said in the comments about Andy Todd, he'll be a real handful. I like Chillico and Mullen that plays at the back. They've got a lot of talent in that team who, you know, probably there's a few teams in the Championship just now who are probably not a kick in the arse off, you know, the bottom two clubs in the Premiership this season, I would suggest, in terms of quality. And we wouldn't go to Livy and start resting players and bringing youth players in. So I wouldn't be up for that.
And we've also got a full week's rest before the next game. So I don't think it's necessary to drop players to rest them and stuff like that because they're going to get a week after it anyway. So yeah, I'm absolutely with Liam on this one. I think we should be approaching it as if it's a Premiership away tie. I don't see the point in going into it any differently than what we normally would.
Well, that's me after trying to finish saying Rudy Molotnikov put well and truly in my box for wanting him to get some minutes in the legs. I'm almost scared to ask for a score prediction after that because I fear that there might be some Dunfermline wins being predicted.
No?
I think it'll be 3-2 Hibs.
Goals.
Nah, I think it'll actually, as much as I think it'll be a difficult game, I think 4-1 Hibs.
I think these guys are dramatic. I reckon 3-0 to the Kiavich. I'll say 3-1. I'll give them a go. Be a good cup tie. The only thing is, it's realistically going to be 1-0. We're going to score in like the 70th minute, and we're going to be shitting ourselves the entire time. But boys, is it 4 games unbeaten? Five games unbeaten now.
5.
5. Because we had Dundee United before the 3 in a row, didn't we? Nice. So 5 games unbeaten, going into Scottish Cup tie, then another big game against Falkirk the week after. It's an exciting time to be a Hibs fan, and hopefully we'll have some new signings. We'll be through in the Cup, and we'll be excited to be taking on Falkirk when we chat to you next time. Goodbye.
Moon the Hibs.